What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. So, man, you're gonna have to excuse me for these uploads. These uploads are gonna be a little late today, but you know how it is. Lost track of time, so my apologies. Anyway, a lot of you guys have been hitting me up about, more tech-related videos on the channel for the PlayStation 5. And here's the crazy part. I've talked literally about everything. I broke everything down in layman's terms, and I even going as far back when the system was still in rumor territory. We broke down what was possible on the box. However, there is one particular thing that I did not talk about or did a follow-up on after it got confirmed courtesy of AMD, and that was Fidelity FX support. Now, Fidelity FX, again, is pretty much going back to what I said in my video where I said, welcome to the post-4K era, as I alluded to over a year ago at this point. And basically we were talking about the potential of what PS5 can do on screen. Granted, DLSS, again, it's all about performance, but also giving you that insane visual of what it is. Now, Fidelity, I keep saying FX. Fidelity FX is not necessarily DLSS. It is an alternative that is made courtesy of AMD. Remember I stated in that video, usually a lot of these features that you see, let's say for example, NVIDIA, right, with DLSS, usually stuff like that is not going to only be on one platform. You're going to see iterations of that in the, obviously in the ladder with the competition. And AMD came out with Fidelity FX, and we're seeing what that can actually do. Fidelity FX not only is going to improve performance in games, and granted, this is not just going to be for PS5. This will be on Xbox Series X as well. Both platforms are definitely going to benefit from this awesome tech. And what's really cool about this and what's really got me excited is the fact that it's so good, and they're really testing the waters here, and they're really getting some great results. But not only are we going to get those beautiful visuals, we're going to get the performance that we most certainly crave. And what's so good about this in the long run, right? In the long run, we don't really need a PlayStation 5 Pro or an Xbox Series E. This is probably one of the coolest things about it. Now, granted, again, this is Sony, this is Microsoft, right? They might continue down the road for the whole, the traditional route for them. They might come out with a beefier piece of hardware later down the road, but as of right now and as it currently stands, they don't necessarily need it at all. I mean, the games are absolutely wowing us right now with what we're getting with the PlayStation 5, and of course, what we're going to get with Series X. Games are going to look fantastic down the road. And keep in mind, we're just starting this generation, and we're barely even going all out into the box right now, especially with the world and COVID-19, et cetera, et cetera. As you guys are seeing, we're slowly getting back to our normal state of mind and our normal state of living as certain things are, coming back open to us. So we're slowly getting there. So I'm not really worried about the future for PlayStation 5 and especially Xbox Series X. Both systems are going to deliver some incredible games, and we're going to be wowed in the long run. Now, I do want to throw in some quick little points here, and this is courtesy of Gamers Nexus, because a lot of people actually think I have a problem with Gamer Nexus when I actually responded to a video that he did where he called the PlayStation 5, I think he called it, he compared it to another GPU, and granted, he does have points and similarities, but like I said in my video, there are some things you just cannot refute, and that is data. And that particular case, there was definitely a lot of there's a lot of similarities. And like I said before, going into what PS5 was designed for, PS5 is not designed to be no 4K beast. I mean, you can ask Chris Grinnell. We talked to Chris Grinnell about this. We've talked to Rudolph about this from Housemark. PS5 is not necessarily a 4K focused beast. It is a system that is designed for the best optimum performance. Keep that in mind. Optimum performance, 60 FPS, in this case 120 FPS for certain games, right? Like Call of Duty, which was just advertised, and Sony's latest advertisement. These games are going strictly for performance, but they're also giving you the pretty visual. And I know you guys are wondering how they're doing that. It's the technique of, FSR, or I'm sorry, it's the technique of Fidelity FX. And of course, you guys, again, if you want to go with DLSS to put in terms, it's that type of stuff right there, giving you the crazy visual, but also giving you the performance. And also not skimping on this. When you have PS5 that can handle so much data on screen with the IO throughput and the way they're going about the overall system and its design, there is a lot of stuff that is so capable, that is so capable of. And there's so many possibilities that which you're going to be getting. Look at Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank looks absolutely breathtaking. Even going back to the Unreal Engine demo, that still looks incredible from what we got. Demon Souls, the list goes on. All these games have performance modes, and what's even more crazy about these performance modes, we're still getting them, and we're getting options for, wait for it, the resolution. Like I said before, the resolution mode, which is going to be the 4K 60 mode, or should I say the performance ray tracing mode, that right there is definitely going to be a staple to look out from PlayStation, and they're definitely waiting for Fidelity FX to really go all out. But I think it's available. It'll be available very, very soon to them as well, so they're really going to be pushing out, if it isn't available already. So that's another cool thing about this. But I'm gonna play a little clip from Gamers Nexus so you guys can get a kind of an understanding of how advanced this is compared to DLSS and the competition, and you'll really see why I'm so excited about this and why I really like bunker down on what the PS5 is doing. Again, there's a reason why I said let Microsoft have the whole, you know, fidelity advantage here, because it really does make sense for Microsoft. They have a higher clock GPU and CPU, right? So therefore, higher resolution shouldn't be an issue for Microsoft versus Sony. That's not necessarily what Sony's going for. They went for the perfect mix, and that's what you're kind of getting now with the PlayStation 5, and you're seeing that in all its great detail. But keep in mind, Microsoft is not going to be no slouch down the road, and I do want to make that loud and clear. Microsoft's not going to be a slouch down the road. It's going to get better for Microsoft down the road. You're going to see improvements with these games and, of course, the visuals. Absolutely. But also keep in mind, too, with Sony's first party, PlayStation 5 is also going to get even more better down the road as well. You're going to see a lot of insane stuff down the road. All right. Anyway, that's the quick video for PlayStation. I did want to talk about this because I'm so hyped for it still. Looking forward to it. Check out Gamers Nexus. His video is linked in the description below. Go give him a listen. And, of course, subscribe if you're new, if you like the video. I'll see you guys on the next one. That'd be good. Deuces.
And a couple of other SDKs. As the name implies, Fidelity FX has a focus on post-processing effects that increase visual fidelity, like denoiser and contrast adaptive sharpening. And to summarize, GPU Open is the top-level name for all of AMD's open source software. Fidelity FX is a group of effects, and FSR is one specific effect from that group. FSR is intended to take low-resolution source images or source frames and then upscale them to make them appear sharper and overall better in quality. And this is supposed to help balance the performance and the image quality, especially in a market where GPU choices have been limited for a long time. And that's why this got so much praise from the enthusiast community when it was announced, because instead of pushing out another GPU, AMD read the room a bit and put this out there instead to help with the older GPUs. At least that was sort of the marketing around it. So FSR is intended to do some of the things that DLSS does, but not at all in the same way. They approach the topic very differently. This is ultimately a game feature, not a driver feature, and that's key. So the games have to individually add FSR as a graphics option, and likewise, if AMD stops supporting FSR, as long as the games keep supporting it, it'll continue to work. AMD makes a lot of claims with this one, but it also has a lot of qualifiers associated with those claims. So it's a bizarre mix of hesitance and confidence with FSR. One of the claims is a quote-unquote 2.4x increase in performance, and AMD says this all throughout the reviewer guide. You go down to the footnote at the very bottom, and it specifies that, quote, provides on average 2.4x the performance when running at 4K and FSR performance mode across FSR supported games. And we'll talk about performance mode in a moment, but it's the lowest quality one. So just to set the stage before we get into benchmarks, don't expect this 2.4x number that was also at 4K that AMD is citing here in everything. It still works pretty well, but just keep the expectations in check for what FSR really does. Okay, enough of all that. The team pulled an all-nighter on this one to get it up after the APUs and the Intel DGPU review that we just did. So hopefully you find this interesting. We've got a section from Patrick first, talking about how FSR works and what it is, and then we'll go through some benchmarks and image quality comparisons. We should probably start with the easy misconceptions and the confusion within AMD's software stack. AMD's existing CAS effect includes an optional static or dynamic upscaling element, as seen in games like Cyberpunk 2077 actually. This may lead to some confusion as to the difference between Fidelity FX CAS and Fidelity FX FSR, super resolution, which is justifiable. CAS has upscaling and sharpening, and FSR has upscaling and sharpening. From a marketing standpoint, the difference is that FSR has inherited the inference of being a one-to-one alternative to DLSS, while CAS was branded as a more unique to AMD feature. In fact, CAS was originally marketed after the mess of DLSS 1.0, when everything was blurry and looked terrible, and that is why it got the marketing it did. The functional difference, though, between CAS and FSR is that FSR attempts to cleanly upscale edges of objects to create the illusion of a higher render resolution, while CAS is focused solely on sharpening. CAS doesn't necessarily try to make a 1080p frame look like a 4K frame. It just does a sharpening pass. Based on discussion with AMD, FSR includes a sharpening pass and is a straight upgrade from CAS. AMD's official statement to Gamers Nexus was as follows, quote, FSR includes a sharpening component to extract pixel detail on the upscaled resolution image. It is therefore mutually exclusive with any existing sharpening option that games may already support. AMD recommends that all FSR quality assessments be done against a native image that does not have CAS or RIS enabled. As for our assumption, we'd assume that FSR will eventually supersede CAS. FSR is also not the same thing as Virtual Super Resolution, or VSR, that we covered in 2014. This was AMD's name for super sampling, or SSAA. VSR renders at a higher resolution than the display, allowing for a high-quality output image with reduced aliasing. VSR makes performance worse and image quality better. FSR makes performance better and image quality arguably worse, although AMD is trying to not have that happen. Getting into really how it works, then, there are 4 settings levels for FSR 1.0. Ultra quality, quality, balanced, and performance. This is the same naming convention that NVIDIA uses for DLSS 2.0, except with an important addition. That's ultra quality. The reason this is important is because it's ultra, and obviously that makes AMD better. End of argument. See you in the comments. We look forward to NVIDIA's DLSS 2.0 Ti setting in the future.
The GeForce RTX 3080 Ti.
Each setting has a specific scale factor in relation to the native screen size. For example, performance has a render resolution of 1/2 that of the screen size per dimension. Really important there. On a 3840 by 2160 screen, FSR performance upscales frames rendered at 1920 by 1080. Balanced uses a render resolution that's 10/17 per dimension, so that'd be X and Y. Quality uses 2/3, and ultra quality uses 10/13. Again, these are ratios per dimension. 1080p by name is half of 2160p, but in reality it's only a quarter of the pixel count. Ultra quality might sound close to native, but the pixel count is still only 59% of the native screen resolution. These ratios aren't tied to specific screen sizes or resolutions though, and that's good, because that means FSR should prove flexible in working with unusual resolutions or unusual aspect ratios.